everyone, my name is Daniel with Cocktails with the Homies. Today I am blessed to be with Corina Burnett with Heaven Hill, talking to us about some spirits. I believe in particular Agave, correct? One of your loves.
No, well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
I'm super excited to sit down with you guys. So I work for Heaven Hill. I focus on the Sampson and Surrey portfolio that they acquired. But I really have my passion in agave spirits. So that's, there's some amazing brands in the portfolio, but I think San Diego being Southern California and this area, it's like agave is super hot right now, and it's just like so dialed in here.
Yeah. Well, I know that's one of your loves, but talk to me about your first love. People like to hear about what really first captivated you to be in this industry and to kind of push you wanting to like move into it.
100%. So I grew up in Texas. I'm from Austin, and my parents are really big foodies. So it's funny because they actually...
So you're having like Michelin dinners early on in life?
Yes. So it's cool because my dad's like a big Texan guy, and he's really great at like making barbecue and really hearty dishes.
Yeah.
And then my mom, she's from Cuba, and so she makes all amazing different types of cuisine, but her like homemade Cuban food, her like arroz con pollo, they make like lechon, during the holidays, and it's just one of like my absolute favorite things.
Love it.
So really like food was kind of like my first love, and like I've always just resonated so much with cuisine and traveling, and like breaking the bread to like understand people's culture and background is a lot through food, and that's kind of universal. Like everyone has to eat, so that's something at a young age I was like, damn, like I love food so much, and that's why I started working in the hospitality industry. We moved to France when I was 11 for a project my dad had. And
so you got like exposed to all the wine culture and just in general how they view alcohol, which is far different than like Americans.
No, 100%. It's like a big term in the wine industry is like old world wine versus new world, because when you go over there, it is so old world. It's been around forever, and they had to bring vine graftings like to the U.S. eventually because there was a huge thing called phylloxera that wiped out all of like the vines here. So that's super interesting. But like on my 11th birthday, my dad asked me, he was like, what do you want to eat for lunch? And I was like, I want like ravioli, like I want pasta. And he was like, okay, we're going to drive to Italy. So we drove to Barolo.
Nice.
And the predominant grape in Barolo is called Nebbiolo. It means fog in Italian. And so you see the fog like fall into like the cliffs and the mountains there. And it's just like the most beautiful thing. It
sounds picturesque.
It was at a young age where I was like, just resonating with it so much. Like my favorite wine to this day is like Chateauneuf de Pape. It's a Southern Rhone blend, and my dad and I also like took a picture in front of the sign there. Got to like go to like Chateauneuf de Pape and see some like amazing producers out there. So I just knew I always like wanted to get into it, Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great kind of way to learn about it and see it, is like going to France, where like obviously wine became I would say like, I guess the biggest compared to Italy. I don't know. Them side by side is crazy.
It's nuts. It's so next level out there, and it's beautiful. And I've gone back several times. Once I was like, making more money and can take some trips on my own and everything. But it was cool.
Nice.
It was cool.
So, your first love being food, did you start in the hospitality industry very young, or was that something that you kind of developed later?
Yeah, so I actually started working in the hospitality industry when I turned 16. I started hosting at a restaurant, a Mexican food restaurant in Austin, Texas called El Arroyo. It's known for, you see on social media, they have these big funny signs that they do. So that's kind of what they're known for. Started working there. And then when I turned 18, I started working at a restaurant called The Brick Oven. It's not around in Austin anymore, but it was like a gem of a spot, and it's Italian food, and Italian food is like one of my favorite cuisines. So that was cool. And I did that for a while before I kind of got into like beverage alcohol sales and everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you find one more gratifying than the other? Do you ever wish of going back and like bartending because like that's something that you miss doing? Or?
Yeah, no, it would actually be my dream to like open up my own spot down the line.
Your own restaurant?
Yeah, like
bold move.
I have a couple ideas that I think are cool, and it'd be amazing to do them with like really awesome people too. So I'm just, you know, it costs that money though, so it's like it's gonna take a little time to make that dream happen. But we'll see. But
at least you have a goal kind of into this industry, you know. Like some people work it and get lost into it. Some people just enjoy it so much, and it provides this form of life, and they're happy with that, you know. But I always find it kind of interesting where people see themselves later in this, because you know this industry has no kind of safety net, right? Like if you do it yourself, we don't pay into like any retirement, we don't pay into like any kind of a future until you kind of think of that yourself, which is, you know, a little bit nerve-wracking in some regard, right? Like,
no, it's super intimidating, and I think it's not talked about as much as it should, and I think like finding that community with everyone and just being there for each other, and there are like ways to like make sure that you're taken care of. But it's just, you got to take the time and you got to like find those right places.
Absolutely.
You know?
And do that on your, unfortunately, your own time, right? Like, in the bustle of all this. But, you know, kind of moving from the hospitality, how do you kind of find a life outside of that? Because it can be so enveloping, right? Like,
oh my gosh.
Food is just so universal. Food can be all the time. So can alcohol. How do you find a balance between, you know, stepping away from the madness and finding yourself some time?
Yeah.
Right?
It's hard because with my hobbies, it's like, okay, I'm working with restaurants all the time because, you know, I cover on and off premise for Heaven Hill in Southern California. So it's like, you know, I'm in some liquor stores here and there, but mostly like on premise focused. So it's like in my free time, what do I like to do? I love trying new restaurants. I love trying new places, new cocktail bars, like wine bars.
It's a vicious circle.
I know, dude. It's like so gnarly sometimes because that's what one of my big hobbies is. But I'm also like, I'm really grateful. I started going to a gym recently. That's like changed my life. It's called the It Factor.
Cool.
And I actually like found out about it through a homie that I met in the industry. She works for Gallo Spirits. And her and her husband go there, and they invited me to come, and I've been going there now since like October, and it's completely changed my life, like my mental health, my physical, just like spiritual, everything. Because what they do is they have the technology to suck some of the oxygen out of the room. So you're working out at 10,000 to even close to like 15,000 feet, depending on the day.
That's intense.
So it's called intermediate hypoxic training, and your blood level, the oxygen lowers down, so it really helps you like burn more. It helps with your stress management. It just helps with so many different facets. And at the end of your workout, everyone sits like in shavasana on the ground, like on the floor.
Borderline hypoxic.
Yeah, you're kind of like convulsing. You're like, oh my god. No, but it's super dope because you finish your workout, you lay down in shavasana, and they go through a different motivational topic like every day. And all the coaches are just like incredible, inspiring. Like they all, like the community that they've brought there is just really cool. So I've found just some of like my new best friends there, and a lot of them don't work in the industry, so it's
so needed. It's so
good.
needed.
I think in all aspects of life, having a combination is like very important. You know, like you can either be like, you know, this is an F yes or an F no, but like it's good to have your things, but it's also good to branch out and like get in the mix of some different stuff. So I do that, and I'm really into music. Like seeing live shows is like a big thing. Growing up in Austin, you know, it's like the live music capital of the world.
For
so
sure.
My dad and my brother are actually super into music because my dad's mom, she's a musician, and like he grew up with that, and he's really talented at playing music, and so is my brother, and they play different instruments. So that to me, like that I share going to like live shows with them, and we've been to festivals together, and like literally my dad saw me crowd surf and my brother mosh and like throw up at the same concert. It was like some rock like metal show. But that's really important to me. And like I said too, just like traveling, like I'm very much like I need to go see other places, things, like break bread with different people. So like I schedule, I pretty much like every year I have trips like planned like throughout the year, or
That's
like
good.
I'll stumble across like some trips too, but like traveling is very important to me because it's just like the one thing that like really fills my cup up, you know?
For sure. I mean, I know. I loved traveling, you know, just dipping out and like knowing nobody was like one of my favorite feelings, being able to walk into a city and just be like, well, what do I do here? You know, and just go, what do? You go to the fucking bartender, the first person.
Hell yeah.
You know, you're just like, so what's there to do?
No, it's like, it's my favorite thing because you want to ask locals what they do because that's how you find the best places. We have, you know, the internet, and we have all this information feeding to us all the time, like the news, like everything is being told to you. And so when you can like find people that you're probably similar to, resonate with, they're locals and you see what they like to do, that's the best.
That's how I do it. Fuck the Yelp generation. I fucking hate it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it is, most of it is just such bullshit. Hate me or don't hate me, but I think it is. Like,
oh my God.
To have a meal, know nothing of what went into it, just like you get this like very two-dimensional experience or understanding of what happened in this dish. Like, granted, you know, Michelin is insane, right? The bite is supposed to be fucking euphoric.
And it's like a next level of artwork.
Sure.
And like skill and talent.
Yeah,
like, it's just
but I feel like that
nuts.
diminishes, in a sense, like even the little mom and pop shops that are never gonna get looked at by Michelin, but like go through so much just to make that plate happen, and just to have someone go, I didn't like the waiter, F on the food. You know, like,
it's like, I don't know if you've seen the South Park episode about Yelpers, but it's like, it's really funny. They're just roasting people that just like talk mad shit on Yelp all the time. So that's a really funny episode to watch. But you know, it's one thing to like give feedback, but I feel like sometimes people will just write bad reviews because they want to get free stuff out of it, or they just like, I don't know. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to run the same way. So it's like, always give a place a couple more chances and just like communicate. And usually if you communicate in a nice way, like people are going to be helpful about that. Yeah. You know,
I mean,
most of the time.
Most of the time. That's the hope, right, in hospitality. At least my idea and hope of it is just like, you know, you're trying to be hospitable to people. Like, you saying something isn't supposed to be like, oh, this guy's going to spit in my food now. You know, like that's the last thing most people that I've worked with have ever wanted, right? Like, why do that?
No, 100%.
But you know, full circle, it really makes me appreciate kind of like, again, what you were talking about, the very raw thing that is breaking bread, and like being able to see and talk to someone and see their views and get their recommendations firsthand, looking straight in their eyes and like kind of, okay, I believe that.
No,
you know, I believe that
sure.
food. Like, you almost cried when you told me this story. You know, some people really resonate with food like that.
I've cried talking about food before, or even eating certain things that were just so beautiful, or like
sounds like a fucking meth head describing another shot. Like, I just want that again. And you're like, yeah, I believe. You know what? I'm gonna go get that. Like, you made me believe that. You know?
My gosh, no, that's so funny. And I think pairings is a really cool thing too. I learned a lot about wine pairings from like, I got my degree, I got both my degrees in hospitality management, and one of them emphasized on beverage management and marketing. Specifically, I was able to take 30 hours that just focused on like wine in particular.
That's cool.
And beverage alcohol production and all this stuff. So it was cool learning about like a lot of wine pairings around that time of my life, and going to a lot of different like wineries and studying that. But there are insane like pairings that I've had with brown spirits and clear spirits too, and especially like these agave dinners have been like so like
agave dinners.
What's
that?
Well,
tell us about that.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. So the first people that I kind of like spoke to about agave dinners and how to like execute them and do it, my boss Jacob Holland, who works for Heaven Hill, and then a guy Chris Simmons that works for us too, and he focuses just on the agave. But they really helped me realize like, oh, like there are like a lot of tequila dinners and a lot of mezcal dinners, and I guess like I had seen flyers for some, but I had never really like gone to one, you know. So once I was finally able to experience that with Tequila Ocho and Mezcal Vago, and just seeing how different chefs will pair different estates from like the Plata, the Reposado, Añejo, or like even some of the allocated like really cool bottles. It's crazy that like a different field of the same vintage of the Plata could complement and contrast the same dish so differently because of the different minerality and characteristics you get from it. Like the floral component could have an effect on it, or like the fruit, like if it's more like grapefruit citrusy, or if it has a little more ripe fruit, it will compare and contrast with the dish so drastically. So, and the same thing goes for like Mezcal Vago for some of these dinners, because it's like an espadín and a mexicano and like an arauqueño, and like you have these 4 different mezcaleros from these 4 regions. So it's like the world is your oyster with pairings, and it's been so cool, and I feel like so blessed to have like seen that and experienced that and get to like host some really cool dinners, you know?
That's interesting. The way you talk about it, it's almost like you're comparing agave to like almost like a wine kind of understanding of it.
100%, because the crazy thing is mezcal in particular is more varietally and terroir driven than wine is. And I mean that's true. I guess like some of those things are like 30 years in the ground before like arauqueño is usually like 10 to 20, like a tepestate like 30 years, you know, 35. And one of our mezcaleros, Emigdio Arquin, he just released a tep and an arauqueño, and the teps, it's in the 30s range. Like that was his first and last time ever making an arauqueño.
That's a crazy thought that guy planted that agave, went 30 years later, he's like, hell yeah.
And I was super blessed because my first day on the job a couple years ago, almost now, like September of 23 is when I started. And my first day on the job was flying down to Oaxaca.
Cool.
And it was our company like national sales conference that we were doing, but I had the honor to get to go to one of the palenques. I got to see Emigdio's palenque in Miahuatlán, and it changed my life. Like, you just see how humble these people are, how hard they work, and how little they really have.
Oh yeah.
And
it's all about the agave over there.
It is.
For them. For a lot of them.
Well, it's like 2 main crops in Oaxaca are agave and corn. Yeah. So it's like, you know, and you see a lot of squash too, and some other things with like agriculture down there. But it's just such a beautiful thing, and like it's cool because like the founders of Vago and like Ocho and like pretty much all the brands I sell like are still super involved in it. They're so just like incredible. They're really amazing people, and they care a lot, and they do a lot of really good things, like sustainability wise, just community, just giving back. So it's cool to see that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was kind of the same feeling that you felt with wine? Kind of just re-brought into your life? You're like, oh, I felt this before. Like, this is beautiful. Like, moving forward with it. You
put the nail on the dot. It like took me, because I had so much passion for wine. I started working for Southern Glaziers right when I was done with school in Houston. And
awesome company to work for.
Yeah, and what was so cool about how I was able to like get into that too is my wine professor from college was amazing. Like, he inspired so many people. We learned so much. It was actually one of the hardest classes. He sits you down on the first day and he says, if you miss 3 of my classes, you're gonna fail, so you'll have to drop. So make sure that you can come all these times. So many people are like, yeah, I'm gonna take this wine class, it's gonna be my elective, and then you go in and you're like, oh, this is like,
oh, we're not getting fucked up like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm learning, all right.
It's just interesting because
I love it.
Everyone that's decided to commit to that is dialed in. And a lot of it was like people that were like already working in the hospitality industry. So I made some really cool friends in that class. But his name's Kevin Simon, and he was also a career counselor at the school as well. And I sat down with him one day and I was like,
man, that guy was ready to put people on the path.
No,
He's
it's
like,
crazy. Like,
set up.
Yeah, because I told him, I was like, Kevin, I don't know what I want to do. I was like, I love wine so much. Like, I love food. I love this, but like, how do I get to do that? You know, how can I make that a thing? And he was like, oh, I worked for a alcoholic beverage distributor for like 20 years before I started doing this. It was called Southern Glaciers. Let me get you connected with them.
Now I got a question.
Yeah.
What led you to take the right instead of the left in regards to like becoming a somm and trying to like go for a Michelin placement and
Yeah.
like, you know?
I mean, it's a different lifestyle. It's like,
Sure.
if like I respect somms so much, it's just
they're like
they're juggernauts.
They're savants, dude.
Yeah.
They're like it's so impressive how they're like this is where it's from. This is the hands that cultivated it. This is the day that they did it. Like it's crazy how they like the recollection.
I think like from working in restaurants for a while, I actually ended up working for this company. This was the summer before I graduated, and I asked Kevin this because I lived in Vegas for 3 months. So I was working for them. They're called Ecolab, so they're a chemical company. So I was doing sales for them, and I loved the fact that you get to hop around. And for me, like, I do enjoy being in the same spot for a good bit, but I was like really thriving from being able to like go to different places throughout the day.
Sure.
Like some people hate it, but like I kind of like
my
the
ADHD
chaos.
loves
of, like,
that. Like,
you know?
Keeps me on my tippy toes, you know?
Yeah. So I mentioned that to him too, and he was like, "Look, like you can work for a distributor and sell alcohol," and so he got me that connection, and I am like eternally grateful for that because I'm like so happy where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And you know, it wasn't easy. Like in the beginning, I started on the chain side, so I actually had an opportunity to go on the restaurant side, but I chose the chain side because there were just some really inspiring people over there that I met, and I saw that like a lot of people that have longevity in that career path, they all, for the most part, not all of them, but a good bit, have worked in the chains at some point. So I started doing that, and it's like, man, you get yelled at people, or you get yelled at by people all the time in the back of these grocery stores, and like you're having to dust the bottom shelves, you're having to do resets where corporate will set a planogram and you have to like put things in different places because it's, you know, it's marketing. Like you're trying to sell things from the shelf. So it's like, you know, there's strategies and ways that you like learn how to really do it. I worked in a division that sold Gallo, E&J Gallo family winery portfolio, and they have a really good training program. So since I was working for Southern Glaciers in that division, their team, their local team, like really trains you well on it. So it was great training. I was a sales rep for 2 years. I eventually had the #1 volume grocery store in the state of Texas.
Hey, congrats.
It was cool.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. And you know, I was debating. I was like, do I go in restaurant side now? And then COVID hit. So
brutal.
COVID hit, and
brutal moment.
I had my job, but all the people that went on premise were laid off or furloughed, you know? So that was like silver lining for me, because even though I was like, damn, like my passion is so much in like restaurant side too, it worked out the way it was supposed to. So I did that, and then I managed for a year in it, and then I eventually was like the fine wine trainer and like salesperson for my division. So I did fine wine trainings and everything, and I did that, and it was like my dream position at the time, and I was so grateful for it. But like I had the calling to move to San Diego, so eventually I did tell my boss at the time, I was like, you know, I'm so grateful for this, but like I need to like get to San Diego. And she helped connect me with someone that connected me with someone that got me the job at like Breakthrough Beverage when I first moved out here.
Oh, nice.
Wine Warehouse. And that's when I started in the restaurants. I did on-premise national and regional accounts that were headquartered here. So I was working with like Cone Restaurant Group and Puesto Group, and you know, just like a lot of like really big like restaurant groups that are based out of here, and a lot of like hotels and casinos and resorts. And it was such a learning curve, but I had the best team of women surrounding me. My boss, Emily Damon, at the time, she used to do like, she was slinging wine in New York for a long time, and then moved out to LA, started working for Wine Warehouse, and she taught me so much. And my teammates, Nicolette DeLuca and Jennifer Silkinson, they were huge mentors to me too, and like helped train me. And there were just some really freaking amazing people that I was able to work with, like even suppliers too, and just like people like bartenders and like restaurant group like owners and beverage directors. Like there's just so many people that have like taught me so many things like in the industry here.
Oh yeah.
And I'm so grateful for it. Like I really am.
Yeah, me too. The industry here is something so different than what I've experienced around the country. It's like very small knit, even though we seem like such a big city, because honestly it's hard to get anywhere around the city without a car.
100%.
But it still feels so small in some regards, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a cool development, and I hope we become even stronger of a community the bigger we get.
I think so. I think it's such a big city because it's actually a little larger than Austin, but it's such a small community at the same time. Like big city, small, tight-knit community. It was actually Christian Siglin, like one of the owners of Happy Medium. He's one of the first people that like really sat me down and taught me about agave spirits, and like Beau Dubois and Derek Cram with like Puesto Group. They also like taught me a lot about like agave too when I first was working over at Breakthrough. So there have just been a lot of like, and the list goes on. Like I could go just on and on and on about like so many people down here that have helped me learn so much, and it's been really, really great.
In talking to a lot of people through these kind of podcasts or whatever you want to call them, this city seems to be like one of the ones where I've heard so much where it's like, oh, I just sat down at the bar, became a good friend of whoever was bartending, and then I just became in the industry. Yeah. So many times I've heard like, people were young and got in, or families, or I don't know. I feel like it's a revolving kind of answer here where so many people just pull up to a bar, start fucking drinking, and then before they know it, they're a bartender.
Yeah, no,
because they love it so much.
It's the coolest thing. Like so many people just get dialed in. So that's what I love about it. Let's go, JoJo.
What's up, Joe? Well, yeah. I mean, I do have another question.
Yes.
You talking about finding kind of a hard way to, not hard, but like it's difficult to find a hobby to kind of pair with this industry because your biggest hobbies being food. Do you see yourself kind of like finding another place to try to go and do this once you've kind of feel like you've succeeded in San Diego? Are you like,
yeah, that's a really cool question.
Maybe back to France to stay for a little bit or something? Like,
who knows? I think like one of the things that it's like one of my life mottos, it's just like never say never, but it's my strong preference not to. And like never say never, but it's my strong preference to not leave San Diego. Like I fell in love with it here.
It's hard to leave.
It's so hard to leave.
If you've come here and like really plan it, and you're just like, fuck, this place is cool, and then you go somewhere else, you're like, fuck, I get why people love it here, but man, San Diego, it's so hard.
It's so beautiful, and I feel like I have so many amazing friends and family back in Texas, and I like miss them dearly, and I've had friends that have moved away from Texas, but I feel like I have a ton of family here now. Like my roommate is one of my best friends. I met her through another best friend I have out here. She works for Feeding San Diego, a subset of Feeding America. So she's actually,
they're killing it.
They're killing it.
Their dinners are so cool.
They're amazing, and what they do is just incredible, their mission statement. But yeah, her name's Kate Garrett, and she's director of supply chain there. And I'm so grateful for her, and like so many like other like people in the community. But even talking about like bar community and family here, it's like I'm here at Crafted Coupe all the time. I feel like everyone here is like family to me. I'm at like Happy Medium all the time. Like it's like their family. Like the list goes on and on. So it's like, why would I leave now that I have all my different like family members
It's
here?
hard. It's hard, especially when the families are killing it, which, like, by the way, congrats to Happy Medium on winning one of the best bars to be at.
No, it's incredible.
Like this block is getting so just recognized, and it's just the start of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a really cool beginning that we're able to witness here because, the way people are just up in the ante around here, like Polite, Swan Bar, Crafted, of course.
Dude, 100.
It's crazy. Part-time. down the street.
I know, and it's like there's just so many amazing
One
places.
door north, even further down the street.
Let's go. Yeah, so
it's cool. It's cool to see kind of us rising. You know, like Kel always says, you know, when the rise tide, so do all the boats in it, right? Like it's
I
really
have heard
interesting.
that from Kel before.
100 times.
Let's go. Yes.
My man, it's a great saying, and it's so true to our industry in particular. You know, like other industries are cutthroat because they want to cut out the legs from under you. You know, like we're cutthroat because it's just the nature of the business here. You know,
100.
But in the same breath, there's always a hand reaching out to help you out.
I love that.
Which is so cool.
No, that's like a really cool way to put it.
Yeah, it's cutthroat, but like they give you a plate at the end of it and try to get you better is what I've always felt around here, you know?
Yeah.
So you talk about being a lover of mezcal. How would you, and to me, mezcal is like a little bit kind of, I don't know how to say it, like, it's a little bit daunting to go into because like
it's
so many people know so little about, right?
Yeah.
How do you kind of begin the conversation to someone new to mezcal? How do you open them up to?
I think giving like, because you don't want to like overdo it. You don't want to talk too much like about something and lose people's interest. But a lot of the times when I do trainings on mezcal, I kind of will explain it like wine because everyone, like for the most part, you're like, yeah, I know there's red wine, white wine, rosé, all this stuff, but everyone has heard probably Cabernet Sauvignon or Pinot Noir or Chardonnay. So I almost tell people, I'm like, what's like, when you think of wine, what's like the main type of wine that comes up in your head, you know?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Me. Let's see.
Like if you think red wine.
Red wine?
Yeah.
I would say one of my first wines I ever was like, holy shit, was a Malbec.
Okay, a Malbec?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, your Malbecs are kind of like your Mexicanos, you know? Because it's like, when you think of Espadín, and like Espadín's the #1 widely planted and produced varietal for mezcals.
Yeah.
I'm like, think of your Espadíns like how popular Chardonnay is, and like everyone orders Chardonnay. Like that's how like widely planted it is and all this stuff. Or what I tell people too is I'm like, I kind of relate it to tequila. I'm like, only Blue Weber agave, and then if you show pictures to people, they're like, damn, that's what a tepestate looks like, or an aroqueño. So I think like most of us are visual learners, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think like having like analogies and then being able to show pictures helps the light bulb go off for people 100%.
Of course.
Yeah.
Cool. That's interesting that you kind of make it a tactile thing and putting it in front of them and holding it. And
100%. Like Carlos Camarena, our master distiller for Ocho, he lets the agave plants over mature before he harvests them. And when he takes them to Los Alambiques, to Tequila Ocho's distillery, he does a slow 72-hour cook in brick ovens. So an analogy I like to give for that to people too that like helps the light bulb go off is I'm like, hey, you're making some beans on the stove and you light up that stove and you're in a hurry, so you crank up the heat and it, you know, burns faster. Well, it's not going to taste as good, but you got it done quicker. Well, when you take the time to go low and slow and cook something like at the proper like temperature and time it's supposed to be, it's going to be more enriched and have more flavor usually. So it's like, hey, like same thing with your agave plants too, and like how that's the methodology, the method behind that. So
yeah,
that's kind of what I tell people.
I love it, especially the way you connect it to cooking. That's, I guess that'll resonate with everybody, right? Like,
hey, you got to boil a pot of water at some point, you know, or you got to make a freaking huevo, make some eggs on the stove, you know.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, life's hard out here when you're on your own sometimes.
It's true. That's true.
But I mean, thank you so much for coming out and talking to me, talking about these brands. Which, by the way, who do you have here? You set them all out.
So I have I have few bourbon. It's actually a rye that they do. It's their Bottle and Bond. Paul Hletko is the founder of that brand. Baby Jane over here. It's part of the Widow Jane portfolio out in Brooklyn and New York. And they made their own heirloom corn varietal. So they crossbred some different kinds of heirloom corn to make their own proprietary strain. So that's really special about that one right there. Tequila Ochos we've been talking about, single vintage, single estate, Camarena, Carlos Camarena and his lovely family down there. Mezcal Vago, like founded by Judah Cooper, Dylan Sloan, Aquilino Garcia, and Tio Ray. And then Bren, which is a French single malt whiskey. Alison Parker is the founder of that. She's incredible. And then Blue Coat Gin too. Gin from Philly. This is the barrel finished, so it's not going to be as like juniper forward as your London dries, but it's going to have a lot of really good citrus notes to it, and it hits. This actually hits in a Negroni so hard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, it's a bummer I didn't find that in Philly when I lived out there.
Oh, damn. Oh, you lived in Philly?
I did.
Okay, Philly's now one of my favorite cities.
Dude, honestly,
it's unreal.
It's so cool.
It's rad.
The only reason I moved back is because I was, I had never ridden on flat land like that before. You know, like here, well, where I live in Bonita, it's like all hills.
Okay.
So I never was like able to enjoy like 12 miles just straight, right?
Yeah.
So I would like obviously hold my backpack and ride with no handlebars and just like enjoy looking around and everything. One day I ate a pothole and I just fucking ate it. It was the year Pothole came out, the song.
Well, okay, it's suiting. You really manifested that one.
It was bad. But yeah, like I separated my shoulder and had to move back to San Diego. But I don't think if I had gotten hurt, I would have come back. I was enjoying.
Hey, things happen.
Yeah,
how they do.
Yeah. I mean, life happens how it happens, and you know, for a reason. But fuck, Philly was such a cool place to live. Like,
it's so
never
cool.
in my life have I experienced something like that. Seriously, like I was a couple weeks in, maybe in my neighborhood, and I had like people opening up their second story, like the ladies who live next to us or people who live like neighbors, screaming out at me, like throwing sandwiches. They're like, "Hey, you hungry? Did you eat?" And I'm like, "No." Of course not. I just barely survived here.
Yeah, right? You're hanging on by a thread over here. It's fine.
They'd throw a sandwich out, or they'd yell at me, or the dudes from the corner store, the bodega, they'd be like, "Hey, oye, mijo," you know, like, "Tienes hambre?" I'm like, yeah. It was so cool how, like, again, food, back to the very basic principle of breaking bread, was such a cool introduction to like a place to live. Right? Like, if you ever go back to Philly, go back to a place called, I think it's called South Philly Barbacoa.
South Philly Barbacoa. Oh.
Dude.
Okay.
I think this lady was on Netflix, if I remember correctly. Her story is so cool. So cool. It's very sad because, you know, life happens. Yeah. But food is always there to pick up the pieces. But this lady, she was running a barbacoa shop, and her son died right before she was going to stop. And she was going to give him, you know, he was going to take the business and make a flourish. He was a smart, cool kid, and he passed. So this lady was like, kind of in the crossroads of like, what do I do? Do I stop cooking, or do I, you know, like, what do I do? Right. So she ended up moving forward with it, keeping on going and trucking.
That's beautiful.
It was a super cool story.
That
and
really
she explained this to me while I was so fucked up. So we would.
You're like emo. You're like, man,
dude,
this is crazy.
I felt so bad because, you know, she was a very, very humble and lovely lady. But we had gotten there way before her opening. So in Philly, I used to cook. So all of us cooks and chefs and all this, we go out and, you know, we do our thing. We go out to the other places, talk to the other cooks, get some cool dinners,
go
like
blow
super
some
late.
Steam off after.
Yeah, of
sure,
course.
Man.
And then we showed up to this place and it wasn't open, and we were like, you know, it's not open, but, you know, she let us in and she let us eat because the guy knew her, and she was like, there at even before 5, her barbacoa would sell out by like 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning.
Twist my arm.
She sold it by the pound. She's like, I don't even sell tacos.
Okay,
like,
I'm going to Philly just so I can go there.
Do it, please,
you know?
please. It's such a good place, and like just the soul behind it is so beautiful.
I mean, it's like, I'm a firm believer that pain has a purpose, and like, you know, I've experienced like a really hard like death in my life, and you know, I think like sometimes that trauma that you go through, like if you're resilient and you power through, like you get to a beautiful place.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And again, this is where a bite truly transcends the act of eating. And I think that's a beautiful place to live in and to be in. And that's why this industry itself is just so beautiful, because it takes it from being just about zeros and ones and labor reports and costs and, you know, to some point, you know, it is more than the means that comprise it. And it only...
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way I see it, because we're the only industry of its kind. So it's got to be beautiful.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true, man.
And it's cool. It brings us together, you know, like all of these things in separate kind of entities will never do what they do together. And that's why we kind of have this podcast. It started off just like that, with us having our separate interests, coming together at a bar, laughing with Julio, joking around, and then it turned into a video or a segment, and people loved it, and then we just moved forward with it. Just like this industry, it started as us just breaking bread, and then it ended up, you know, some people getting a job. Full circling it, you know?
Exactly. No, it's super cool. Like I'm very grateful for where I'm at in my life right now, and like getting to do this, it just like fills my cup up. So yeah,
it definitely does. And you know, your cup is filled with some beautiful things like Tequila, Ocho, and Vago. Mezcal. Luckily.
No, exactly. Hey, it's good stuff.
I love it. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking your time out, talking about these brands, things you love, and you know, how all of this just really brings us together at some point.
I think what you guys are doing with Cocktails with the Homies is a really awesome thing, and getting to showcase like so many amazing people in the industry here. It's cool, and sharing their stories. And I've listened to so many of them and like learned so many things about other people. So
yeah, things like you'll never fucking know, you know?
I know.
Like,
so
and we do it under the pretense of having a drink, right? Because we're Cocktails with the Homies. We're all the bartenders that we started.
Of course.
So it's very, like, I think I talked or touched on this subject with Ren Parakis, if you know her.
Yes.
But it's like super disarming. Alcohol is a disarming kind of asset in the tools that we use here in this industry. And it's, some people can take it too far, but to me, I feel like I love that alcohol kind of gets everyone on like a normal playing field.
100.
Right? Like I wouldn't say like your ego disappears, but like, you know, there's just something that takes over. The spirit takes a hold of you.
No, it's so funny.
It's just something different.
I had that conversation a while back. Actually, I was sitting at Ironside with beverage director for Cone Restaurant Group, Maurice DiMarino. He's also been a huge mentor to me with learning about spirits and just the industry.
Yeah.
But he was like pretty much saying the same thing. He was like, you know, like a lot of people can get lost in this industry, and like you have the choice at the end of the day with how you're gonna like manage your time and like go through it. And
100%.
You know, yeah.
And it's just, again, a beautiful way that this industry can let you go through and weave your life together. It's so cool.
Well, cheers, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you.
Cheers.
Yes.
All right, friends, that's another episode of Cocktails with the Homies.
Cocktails with the Homies.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Good job.
Dude, that was good.
That
was actually like, I feel like I learned so much about you too.
Yeah. I mean, we really try to keep it to like something very natural, you know, like questions that I don't know if you get asked all the time, but just like simple things. Like we're not trying to reinvent the wheel out here. We're just trying to talk about how